Hi Satya,
Hey, man.
nice to be back again on the monthly ones.
Yes, as always.
I think I've been looking at some of the comments. I mean, comments have been increasing the last few episodes,
Hmm.
and it's a very nice thing to see that that people are commenting, people are engaging, and we'd like a lot more of that, of course, to see how our line of questioning should evolve and what kind of, especially the last couple of episodes where you spoke about the freebies
Hmm.
with Sumanna, I think,
Hmm.
and there was a lot of comments on that. How do you distinguish what a freebie truly is?
It's not a hard question, and yet it's quite subjective.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I mean, we can take an example of giving a cash dole out, or a pressure cooker, or a television,
Hmm.
and then this
Or even
bus,
alcohol
or even alcohol, and then there's
in exchange for votes.
in exchange for votes. And you don't directly say it's exchange for votes, but everybody knows it's in exchange for votes.
Yeah.
It is always given as an incentive for people, ostensibly to promote.
Incentive to what?
So ostensibly to probably enable some other activity. Like for example, let's take uh, a bus for example. The claim is that it will help people move about. It will increase mobility for women. Why only women? Because we've all been talking about women's empowerment, increasing their workforce participation, and things like that, and Nari Shakti or whatever else it is, right? So there are various ways in which people conceive of this. A politician conceive of certain things and they say ostensibly they'll give a reason.
Hmm.
Oh, pressure cooker will probably help women, I don't know, cook better. I don't know what it is. TV, I don't know, maybe it helps more people watch them speak. So there is a fine distinction between which freebie is useful or whether it is a freebie at all, because it's a dole, it's given out. It's given
Hmm.
out to someone. Even though you may cloak it under the garb of helping them, you know it is to get them to like you and to vote you.
Hmm.
Some do end up helping. Now this is a line that I've been trying to make as an argument to all the comments is, how do you know which one is actually helping and which one is not, unless.
The way I see it is like if you're giving, starting from the liquor
Hmm,
to, let's say, a television or a I don't know, pressure cooker, like you
hmm,
said.
hmm,
You vote and you get that. You take that home.
hmm,
Whereas a free bus ride for women
hmm,
is not something that is so tangible, yet it's a service
hmm,
and it enables a lot of people. So for me, uh, getting the bus free for women is not exactly sounding like a freebie as much as a television or a or a packet of biryani
hmm.
or any of those could, because those are instant gratification,
It's
right?
also quid pro quo, like you said, right?
Yeah.
So you maybe not take home exactly, they'll give it to you before saying very well that I've even had people come and give gold this and gold. So there is a fine line. Now you've drawn a nice distinction between not classifying a discount on a bus. It could be 100%, it could be 50% or whatever. Let's call it discount on a bus,
Mm.
or bus ride or a metro ride or whatever it might be.
Mm.
A discount for public transport is not exactly in the same line, even though it was given
Mm.
and is being given as a part of a bouquet of things that are being given to women and people in households. The garb is important because uh, in the name of doing something good, a benefit is also gleaned by the political party.
Mm.
So if you look at the current status of even the bus rides
Mm.
in Karnataka, for example, it is being given to only domiciles.
Mm.
Why? Are they the only women that should benefit?
Mm.
If it is, then you're making a very clear distinction that only the people I care about are the people who vote for me who from this state, then only I will give them the freebie.
Mm.
Or whatever we call the discounting of the bus services. Now that clearly starts making the distinction and calling it a freebie instead of something else. But the broader goal, if you want women to travel more freely, empower them, and you want to give them a discount, just like you give discounts to students, you give discounts to certain
Disabled people.
categories, disabled people. Some places why the MLAs and the MPs and the elected people get free rides on many things, right? They get
Flight tickets and
flight tickets, X amount of,
hotels.
yeah. I mean, in the reason there is, of course, they are helping themselves, but the point is they are doing a public service, and then we should help them. You don't have to pay tolls,
Hmm.
right? So people always abrogate certain things to themselves. Now this is a very one. Let's make the very clear distinction that financial prudence is important everywhere.
Hmm.
You most usually free is generally not valued, and it could be valued. Might be making a conflicting statement here because we don't know how to value these things.
Hmm.
Uh, the other excuse that is given is it puts the bus company in the red.
Hmm.
Bus companies have always been in the red. Bus companies will continue to be in the red. Metro companies will continue to be in the red. Train companies will continue to be in
Hmm.
the red. Public transport will continue to be in the red. How you make up that money is not from the fare box. Fare box is the money you collect as fare, right? That's not a tax, it's a
Hmm.
fare for a service. That money is never enough because if you actually cost them at the true cost, you'll never be able to travel anywhere. It will be more costlier than the private transport that you use.
Hmm.
But the public transport is given so that you avoid people from taking the private transport option because that clogs the road. It causes all of the other
Hmm.
problems that we have of congestion, pollution, heat island effect, everything that we are seeing. So we want more people to move. And a bus as a public transport is something of a sort of a common good or a public good, right? It is not a public good in true economic sense, but it is considered as a good
But
that needs to be given by the government to
hmm.
people so that they can move, and it is a service of some kind.
Hmm.
Now, when you start giving these discounts, it's just a matter of how much is good enough. Is 25% discount good, 50% discount good, 0% discount good?
Oh,
Because you're
100% discount.
or
Like what
100%
we have
discount.
for
It's
the.
just a percentage. So I'm
Hmm.
saying it's a discount. It's a discount of 100. Okay, you collect 1 rupee and say it's 99% discount. Don't call it free. Then what will it be?
Hmm.
Right? Even the electricity bill, the first 200 units are given free and the rest are not.
Hmm.
Right? You can also make those kind of arguments for other common goods like water
So
to
yeah, I'm coming
people.
to that.
Uh,
But before we get into that thing, I understand where you're going.
hmm.
But like, let's just get back to that freebie conversation that we had. What is truly a freebie? Like you said, even the service that we're giving for women uh, in buses
Hmm.
in Karnataka is free, and of course there are a few things that are contentious in it, like you said, the domicile and all that. Won't it help a society, a section of the society, in a positive manner, which we will be able to figure out only after a few years of its being in place? Like, for example, the midday meal scheme, the Tamil Nadu government for 50, 60 years back when they started,
Yes.
it was also a freebie if you look at it that way.
Hmm. Hmm.
But what it did to Tamil Nadu was that it had more kids going to school
Hmm.
and more women, girl children going to school, and therefore the population control was back in place, and people started uh, you know having lesser kids but giving better quality of life to them by sending them to school, and there you had a better skilled
Workforce.
population workforce coming into the workforce, right? I mean, so we could deduce that kind of change because it was a generational change, and that takes time for us to understand, right? So maybe this one, the free bus for women, I think is enhancing women to go out and make a living for themselves. Forget a living, even for them to be able to travel freely without having to spend so much money from their family budget or whatever. And if they are able to fraternize with other uh, women from other communities and other cities, if they're able to go, what's wrong with that?
I don't think there is anything wrong with that. Now, that's the argument I'm making, right? You need to start drawing a distinction between a pressure cooker kind of TV, gold ornaments,
That's
and
why I think, yeah, pressure cooker, those are more quid pro quo kind of thing.
you can make out any reasonable individual can make out that this is not the same freebie, but the rhetoric from certain sections doesn't let you make this distinction. They
Hmm.
don't want you to make an educated distinction. If you thought education was a common good that needs to be subsidized people, students need to be able to travel for free or for subsidized cost. Do you want them to travel? You made that distinction. You could say, why is education free? It costs a lot of money. The private schools are really expensive. Why do you give education? Because you called it some kind of a fundamental right. Is public transport something like that? Because you're today fighting in cities to say we need to move people to public transport, and yet when we have incentives that makes it enable people to travel more in public transport. You can always have, why not men, why not this, why not that, why not that, right? That's the same as reservations. Why do you do affirmative action only for certain sections? Because you know you need to bump them up in the equity chain, right? You want to give them certain facilities so they have equal opportunities to fight in the society. So historically, women have lived in a patriarchal society like ours, and we are only now in the cities moving towards it. Even if you go 50 kilometers outside of Bangalore or any major city, you will see that women are still not as empowered as you think they are. So, a public transport at this point in time, in this nature of our development, in this stage of our development, when we need to bring people up to scale, is possibility. The thing is not to confuse that with the same terms. If you continue to use the word freebie, you will categorize them with pressure cooker, TV, gold, liquor, and all of those things. A private good that is being given to you that you consume yourself is slightly different from a public service that is being given to you. A giving of something like a free ride in a bus for some people, or a discounted ride is what I call it.
The argument is about why do this at all? Because one of the comment that we received from many people where somebody is paying the brunt for this. Somebody is paying for this,
Yes,
and that's the taxpayer, which alludes to us, people who are working, people who are in the business, who are paying taxes, as opposed to a larger section of people who are just taking this for free, and it's not incentivizing them to do their bit in order to become part of the tax net.
So here's the
So
thing.
how do we? A lot of people still say that it's the taxpayers' money gone to waste by giving these freebies.
It is not. First of all, I'm again making the distinction. It's not this. It's not a freebie in the true sense of word as how a freebie is when you give the private goods. Look, a women's workforce participation can be increased in many ways, right? If you think only transportation is a factor, it is not. There are many other things to it. Let's admit that giving them jobs, having accessible wages, or giving them right wages, those are one things. But there's a lot of the informal sector, like your maids, like your people who are in the doing street
Small
vending,
scale
small scale
vending,
stuff. So the unorganized labor benefits a lot from these kind of things if given properly without domiciles and saying all women get a discount on the rides. Then over the long term, like how you talked about the midday meal scheme, over the long term you'll start looking at some kind of benefits emerging. You might say they are not using it exactly for work. So what? They are using it to go around. Mobility is increased for those people. Even if they are just loitering and going to Kaman Park, why do you want to deny them? That's the
but
point Sumana was
the
making.
contention is who pays the cost for that?
I'll come back to that. See,
Okay.
everybody pays the cost of everything. Any tax you pay is going to go. It's like same thing that you're asking. No, why should the tax go to Bihar? We are earning here, they are not earning. Why do you give it to them? That's the point of a tax. You can't earn quid pro quo on that. Now you're leaving the decision on how wisely you distribute the taxes. Now you have these formulas. Yeah, the Gadgil formula, which has now become the Finance Commission formula, which says we will give you if you do these kind of things. That is still not fixed. Right? There also we have disputes. We always have subjective disputes. Like that, you can argue that choose the bucket of things that you want to spend on. Is taxpayer money going to buying TVs for people? Yeah, argue against that. Is taxpayer money going to buying gold ornaments or giving them cash discount on something? Yeah, argue against that. But when it comes to a transport service, which is essential, mobility is essential for people's livelihoods. You live in a place, you go somewhere and you work. And the more easily you are able to discover that and more cost effectively you can discover that, you may choose options. You can go and study that and bring that back and say, how do we study that? It's out there. Look, we have to make certain choices.
So has there been actually any good study with a lot of data?
It's coming out now increasingly and more over the last 2-3 weeks. I've been going and saying, can I do this study? Then I'm discovering more people are doing the study.
Okay.
So one more has come out in Karnataka also. I just was reading that today morning or yesterday, that it has empowered women to go out and do certain activities. That is also being spun now as people are going to temples, so see, it is helping your religion. So those, see, everybody spins this. This is the rhetoric I want public to start understanding. is what is really valuable for the economy versus what is rhetoric that you're being sold. You should know how to distinguish that and know when to argue what. I'm not saying everybody is right. I'm saying there are fine lines that you can. I'm having one more episode coming out on the complexity of all of these things. Who makes these moral decisions? That is what you choose.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there's another comment that goes like, why this thing only for women? Why can't it be for men? Can you give it based on their economic status instead of just blanket, just gender, all women?
Sure, but we know that there has been more focus among empowering women. Let's take that. You have to
Absolutely.
define a target first. Everywhere, whether it is in business or you do it in anything, you define something called a target group, right? You start understanding what is the problem we are trying to solve. Increasingly, women's participation in workforce, their freedoms, and their ability to contribute productively to the economy is being questioned. Women form half of our population, yet, or approximately, and yet a lot of them are being excluded. Now, if that is the goal, then you are so if you take another goal saying we have to target everybody who's economically weaker and get them
The same benefits.
get them the same kind of discounting benefits, let's do that also. This is on a vertical scale, this is on a horizontal, saying that economic benefits we'll do. So it is perfectly reasonable to do that, but you can't say whataboutery here that if this only should be done, this cannot be done. That's a judgmental call we are making. Today there is focus on getting women more into the workforce because they contribute. The economic targeting has been done in the other way also. So you can always go and say, no, why not? There can be another scheme which says if you fall below a certain income category, bring your income certificates to the bus stand now. Right. So this is also another thing, right? I was just trying to tell you this before we started the recording is the more nuanced your targeting becomes, the more harder it is to enforce.
Yes.
Right. This is why they use something called blunt instruments in by the government, which says that broadly, if we give this, it's like inflation targeting with interest rates and all those things. You don't know. You do that, and then you hope that there is a trickle down somewhere, and then you go and measure that. Right. And over time, you start fine tuning how it affects. So possible that you measure. Again, all of this comes back to how you measure. Everybody wants to measure only for their story. Where is the so now we need to get academia involved and say you also stop doing this biased way of looking at these things. Start understanding actually, is there a benefit? Is there a better way of giving them other benefits? Of course, you can tell them, let's give them more education. Will that give them the freedom? Maybe not. I don't know. Or you can go and tell them, we'll create more jobs. Yes, that is already being done. The national scheme for empowering women of more jobs is there, and then there is this also. It is one of the factors in making women more empowered. This is my view. I'm predominantly an economically thinking person, but at some point we need to start looking at, can we measure this and provide these kind of things. Again, it's not a freebie, because to me the line that you asked the first question, freebies are when you give private goods in return for quid pro quo. When you take a public service like education, health, public transport, I've said this in two other, even in that podcast I brought it up with Sona, is that public transport probably needs to be looked at differently from, and we've been saying this, it's a service, it's a social good service.
Yes.
How it's probably helping the city more than it is harming. Right. And then you are making it accessible. What is this gender balance you all talk about? Right. This is one of the things. Why not this? Why? I mean, you can do it in 100 other places.
No, I'm all for what has happened here in Tamil Nadu. That we've started by giving free transport for women across Karnataka, and it's a good thing. The results of which is too early for us to predict. Maybe another 2-3 years, or maybe another 5 years. I don't know how many years it takes. And the study, if you say academia is involved in taking out the data points and understanding it from a very bipartisan way of collecting data, and
no, I have severe doubts about that. I think most of these studies are being done just to justify whatever is there. Of course, Sumana's work has been bipartisan. It's been done not to do anything, but you cannot get rid of 100% bias. When women do the survey, they want to make sure that women are getting the benefit, and they're going to go and see how they are going to get the benefit and what empowerment it is. That as a man, you may not understand it, and you may not be capable of accepting that. But you can always say, what about this? What about that? Yeah, get everything in one by one. Ultimately, there is this also concept, right? Is if you are giving free for 75% of this thing, why are we charging for the rest 25%? I say the complexity we've introduced into public transport now with electronic ticketing, this app, ITS, 100 different things that are coming out. The costs of managing all these things might actually be worse than just giving it off for free. In fact, I have a radical concept is that give the bus for free and make money at the destinations where everybody is going to land up. Monetize those assets and make sure that businesses benefit there. And when you land up free and you don't pay for that, you may possibly pay for a food at that end location. See, that's why I say, no, fare box, which is the collections, are never making profits, will not make profits, will not even cut you even. And so as a service, you are going to discount it somewhere or the other. In general, men are also being subsidized right now. That point was also made in that. You are ignoring that point, which is men today, the cost of the earnings per kilometer doesn't even break even for any public transport corporation. If they're earning supposed to earn 21 rupees per kilometer or 25 rupees, they're not even breaking even. Their cost might be higher. So when that is not happening, why are you nitpicking over another 3 rupees, 5 rupees, 20 rupees here and there? You just might as well say, where else can I monetize? And most successful transport organizations have not monetized the fare box that much. They've kept it enough that
they keep the
system
on.
is not misused and something is coming out of that and a little bit is there. But if you are smart enough to monetize other assets that you have or build those things and use this, if you give it free and more people are taking the bus, isn't that good? You're getting more mobility for people for what it is. And at the other end where they are landing or climbing or whatever, build assets that can monetize, make it a place where you shop more and buy more and eat more or whatever else. If there's a school, there's a tuition center, there are educational thing, whatever, right? You put those up and monetize those there. Put up shops, put up ATMs, do that there.
Going to another comment, after what you just said, is when you have subsidized income in public transport, for example, here, won't it start deteriorating the quality of the bus and the service itself, because there's not much revenue coming in and there'll be cost cutting that usually lead to bad quality of service?
Yes, and that is an argument people are making, but that is not necessarily true. It does happen in government when government does it. In general, that the bus quality has been deteriorating anyway. So that's one of the things I'm asking: is correlation a causation? You can attribute everything to this free and say just because of this everything went down. Bus quality has been deteriorating every day. It's an asset that goes down every day. You have to replenish with new stock. None of the transport corporations are buying new buses, making them look better, making them run better. The cost is only going to increase. The monetization again has to come from other places. And if you consider that a service, it's like asking how government schools are not being run efficiently. Right? It's the same argument that you might make. And I feel that government schools, some of the government schools these days are actually better in some of the cities and the states.
But only an intervention like what AAP did in Delhi, which is what I hear from friends in Delhi, that their schools are very good, in some cases even better than the private schools.
It may be. I have not been there. I don't know about that. But I would generally say that even in Bangalore, I've seen a few of the schools. They are generally better. In fact, I've gone to private schools, smaller private schools for middle income people who don't like government schools. Those private schools are far worse. Their rooms are dingy, stinky. I've gone and done campaigns in many of the small schools where poor people come because they want a private school education. Some private schools. So I don't say all private schools are bad, right? I mean, it depends on what kind of income. Some government schools are better than some of the private schools that actually exist. So this is a varied thing. There definitely, when you start, if you think women are going to sink this whole thing, I think there's a serious problem in how we look at public transport. It has always been sinking. You anyway need to buck it up. This is why an economic argument is useful. It is that if you are going to sink in X amount of taxes to public transport and it is going to give you consequential benefits, it needs to be sunk in anyway. And if you are targeting women now, might as well do it and not sound so.
Because anyway, the private sector is not designed to take such a cost. Uh,
So if you are willing to just offload some routes to the private sector in some way under a cross cost contract, give some routes to somebody else and let the rich pay for that, use that money and subsidize the people. Again, it comes back to what is poor, who is poor, right? If you say women is a category regardless of rich or poor, we want to help them, do it. What is the problem? If poor people or rich people are taking it, you shouldn't. If you if you agree on that target that you want to help women, be more mobile and deliver these services to all sections of women, regardless of rich or poor or whatever, do that. If you say, I only want to tackle the economic, do a separate scheme for that, economically weaker. And how you prove that, you see how you want to prove that. We are always discriminating. And there was one incident where one person wearing shabbily dressed clothes carrying some food
yeah,
items in the metro was not allowed.
denied
See,
entry.
we have this othering mentality of saying that this is poor, this is rich, this is that. Just take a target. If women's workforce participation needs to be encouraged, and you want more women to find not just work, even freedom and just travel around for a few years, you want to give that a shot, give it a shot. It is going to cost money.
Yeah,
Everything costs money.
it's been only 1 year since that
I mean,
women this thing has come.
people are traveling. There are people who are taking. I've had anecdotal evidences. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have studies. There are more studies coming up, and I am actually asking for open data. If there are primary surveys being conducted, please put that out in the open. So there will be many different types of questions asked. We may be able to pick and choose different types of questions and pull out some more other sources like the participation rate and the economic growth and all of those things, and maybe we can do some analytics around that and see how to target this better. Or again,
But for
targeting.
example, has BMTC come up with any data for Bangalore city at least?
See, the corporations are only going to complain. Any little hit for them is, I don't know, they are not, I have not heard of them, but I know people who are talking to them as well and to the government and to everybody else. Preferably, this should be done outside the government, because if it is done by the government, there is a danger of it being biased to tell their story. They are not going to do it in a way that it is going to support the story. You can't expect unbiased reporting from any government-led study. I feel that it should, even in the other circuits, I have seen too much polarization. Nobody is willing to analyze it dispassionately. I'm trying to be dispassionate here, but I'm also being said, how can you even support it? How it's unthinkable to even think about this as an option. And I think that is what we should get away from. And is that if this is an option, first is to segregate between private pecuniary gains from this and a public service which is equivalent in nature to education and health. If you treat this as that, then you have to apply a different lens and call it a discounting scheme. And then you can rationalize the discounting scheme and see how much you want to give. You may want to come back and say, no, you pay 10 rupees and I'll give you the rest 90 rupees off.
Sure. Now, from from Bangalore's point of view, I mean, has this free pass for women to use the buses in the city, has that had any impact on the congestion part problem of our city? I'm just trying to ask this question. So, if there is uh, an uptick when it's free, would it be wiser for everybody to take public transport for free if we need to decongest the city?
Yeah, why not? We have to study that. We don't have data. I'm again saying this is one report and it's already everybody saying don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I think we need to start understanding if these experiments can prove it, sit down and study it. Unbiased studies need to be done, and saying that if this is some parties are standing as a social justice thing, it is their call, and it is our call to think whether we want to be a society which does this or not, right? And if you say taxpayer money needs to be spent on something else, list that down and tell me where you're spending it. Where is it going now? Who is getting it?
So, I mean, when you say about where money is going, where the government is investing on what infrastructure or services that is supposedly going to benefit us. One other podcast that you did, which had a lot of comments, was on the tunnel. So, looks like from the comment that I get a sense that almost everybody is against it, against in the sense they don't think it's a very viable option.
And it is true.
Yeah. So then why is the government going ahead with it? Isn't that also taxpayers' money? Isn't that what we need to ask?
Yeah.
as a citizen of this city, that the money is going in the wrong place, trying to do the wrong thing.
Hmm. Think,
So
think about that. 100 crores were spent in giving women rides on buses, whereas 690 crores is being given every kilometer of this tunnel,
hmm,
a one-time cost. 6 years of 100 crore benefits of free rides can be given per kilometer of this tunnel. In the first 4 kilometers itself, 6 4 is 24 years of free bus rides at the current rate can be given.
wow.
And that is for 4 kilometers of a tunnel, which will save you maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it might
And
save.
what happens at the either end of the tunnel?
It comes back to the same 4 lane. I've done the whole, that podcast is right there for
Hmm,
people to, we've done a whole study. The timing might vary from 10 minutes to 3 minutes to 10. Even if you save 15 minutes,
hmm,
if you think that is more valuable rather than give free rides to women, that is the exact nice question that, you start thinking about the alternatives they're spending on,
hmm.
right? If you want to be against it, be against such kind of wasteful expenditure and
Absolutely.
try and see how do we increase public transport, how do we get more people moving more efficiently in the city, and taxpayer money is going there. Why didn't anybody complain about it? I think there
Taxpayer
are.
money is meant for spending on the people, right? So we as citizens need to understand exactly how to ask questions so that money is better used,
Hmm.
better is put in better use for us.
Okay, here's the other thing. So there was this recent thing that giving bus rides free for women or whatever it is proved to be detrimental to the metro in Hyderabad. Apparently, it was reported that
Hmm.
L&T said that, oh, we are
And
losing money
they're
because
selling their stakes or something.
they're selling this. Like they were planning to sell their stakes anyway, right? Public transport is not that big a money maker for most of these people, and even metro rates are discounted massively, right? If it costs 1.5 to 2 rupees per kilometer on a bus, it costs around 1 to 1.5 rupees per kilometer on a bus, depending on the range. And the metro rates are being given at 1.5 to 2.5 rupees. So it's not even that is highly subsidized for such a fancy metro.
Hmm.
But anyway, so that was the case that was being made there, and it went, people were giving notes out of that. The same study here proved that
The opposite.
the opposite, that the metro rates actually increased during that time.
Hmm.
So how do you reconcile these things without data? We are all jumping to conclusions immediately.
Hmm.
The midday meal took decades to see a
To show
massive,
results.
and that is being valued everywhere,
Yeah,
right? So
it
you're
became
not
a it became like almost a national scheme.
in international level. People are saying this is the best way to encourage kids to go to school
Yeah,
because they get a meal there and they were not.
pull people out of poverty. Yeah,
Exactly,
to
right?
get
So
them to
this
go
is
to
one of
school.
the small pieces that are being done. And I think you need to continue to study that and take certain bold decisions of saying if we value women's freedom and ability and you think it is going to help in the long run,
Hmm.
this is one of the ways and not the
Sure.
only way. And if this way is being given now, might as well take that and make a very clear distinction between discounting a public transport, which is almost like health and education, differently from a
Yes.
private good like your TV and your pressure cooker and your gold ornaments and alcohol and biryani. So we have to
Yes.
distinguish that.
Absolutely. It's too early to judge the outcomes of this free service for women in all of these states, though LND might have a different um vision or
Mm.
version of it. But it's important to know and keep a tab on where taxpayer money is going.
Mm.
But I think it's too early for us to justify the outcomes of the free tickets, free rides for women in all of these states. It's too early. It's still, what, 1 year, less than a year in some states, right? So, uh, as opposed to a tunnel being built in a city, that is a wanton waste of taxpayer money. And I think questions like these need to be asked by more and more people who are aware of the urban issues and take some time to understand these issues. And I think you've been doing a great job bringing these subjects to life and bring these topics out for the public, and where people like us understand a few things better. So, with that, I think we'll wind up this session.
Yep. Hope more people listen to these and then comment on it and
Yeah,
engage better so that we can have more open discussions around these things. They are not lines that we can clearly understand now, and we draw it along the way and we make certain calls that may or may not be, but there are nuances that at least we should try to understand and not
Absolutely.
fall for rhetoric that are being said. It might be true, but you need to understand how to study that and bring out the facts and ask for the studies to be done even more and a lot more. And if it proves after a while that it's still not benefiting the way it needs to be, and you need to quantify freedoms of women also. How do you quantify that?
And we
What
should
does
also
that
be
mean?
able to pull the plug off something that's not working.
That is the thing which is difficult in
Let's not
government.
get everything politicized.
Yes, and we need to start knowing how to pull the plug on some of the schemes. It's very important to pull the plug on some of the more famous schemes that are being launched. If based on data,
Yeah.
neutrally evaluated, not by your own government, but by
Yes.
many people.
Absolutely.
And academics especially need to start evaluating this more neutrally and not taking a
Sides.
myopic view of it right up front,
Getting
because it
biased,
is not. So they need to step up now. Academics need to step up and start showing how neutrally we can do this and start opening the data to the public. The raw data needs to be open for us to make our conclusions. There will be many different conclusions, but they should all be made.
Sure.
And then we can find out the bias in those conclusions.
On that note, we would love for more people to start commenting on our podcasts, especially on the expert panel that he has. So we'll understand what kind of questions and what kind of explanations we need to come up in the future episodes. So thank you, Sathya.
Thanks, man.
We'll see you again next month.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.